We're joined right now on RealAgriculture.com by John Maswell. He is the Director of Government and International Relations with the CCA. Welcome today, John.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Hey, John, we potentially have some big news in terms of Canadian exports. Can you kind of brief us on that?
Yeah. Well, I guess what's happening on in Japan is that there has been a lot of media reporting this week of a meeting that took place in Tokyo with the Ministry of Health, and they were talking about the possibility of changing the age limits, both for domestic testing purposes as well as for imports, up from the under 21 months to 30 months. And I think the reporting has been perhaps, I would say, a lot more categorical that it will happen than perhaps is warranted. So I think what I take from it is certainly that, where there's smoke, there's fire. There is discussions going on. Wheels are turning, but I'd certainly be a lot more cautious than some of the reports, coming out of the Japanese media being that it, that it will happen or the time frame under which it will happen.
Yeah, I guess. What's I guess you said where there's smoke there's fire. What's some of the reasons for the possibility of the change?
Well, I think part of it is the timing. It is now, Japan had its first case of BSE in September of 2001. So we've just hit the 10-year anniversary of that. And, that's a kind of a good round number in terms of them saying, well, we'll do a 10-year review of what are the systems we're having. I think another part of it is that Canada and the United States have certainly been asking some time for this to happen. Part of what we've always heard over the last few years that there's something going on in Japan that's been difficult for them to pay attention to this, or whether it's an election or whether it was the earthquake or the nuclear reaction or foot and mouth disease. And we basically, said to them, there's always something else going on. You need to, really consider this, and the request is out there, and it's a serious request we have to increase the age limit. So I think they're looking at it now, and basically saying, well, a certain amount of time has passed to have these rules in place. They put their own domestic BSE rules in place in, like I say, in 2001. They then implemented the import rule that put us in at 21 months in late 2005. So here we are sort of on a 6-year review of that. There's nothing that was official saying it had to be done in 10 years or 6 years. But I think, they're now saying enough time has passed that they're prepared to consider it. And they're not saying at this point they will do it. What the ministry is saying is that they are preparing to ask the Food Safety Commission, which is an independent body, whether these changes are appropriate. So that, A, that request hasn't been made yet, and B, I wouldn't necessarily prejudge what the Food Safety Commission would answer.
And how hard is how hard has Canada been pushing for these changes?
Well, I guess that's a debate. It certainly has been a debate, and something that we've kind of wondered as what's the right strategic approach to do this, and people have suggested other things. I think you could do the old woulda, coulda, shoulda, all day long, but we are where we are, and I think this is at least encouraging that it now looks like the officials in the ministry are prepared to take this next step. I would say the other thing that is encouraging is this meeting that took place was a public meeting, right? So, if they weren't perhaps thinking very seriously about moving forward, would they have taken the step to have a public meeting where they knew that there would be the attention and the reaction? So that's kind of where I say where there's smoke, there's fire. There's definitely some some strategy that's being considered as they move forward.
But there's still some time that has to pass before this is going to be. This isn't a quick
Oh, yeah.
process.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, and I guess I've seen in some of these media reports from Japan that there's been some predictions of a time frame. I don't feel comfortable that I know enough about the steps to be able to validate those time frames or to see what the time frame was, but I do think some of the predictions that have been made in some of those reports are perhaps optimistic.
Yeah, and even though you don't think this is going to come to fruition really quickly, what do you, in your opinion, what do you think the benefits are to the Canadian industry if these changes are made?
Well, I would look at it in terms of what we've been shipping and what we potentially could ship. We did last year, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 million to Japan. And I think our estimate is that if we got that age limit up to 30 months, we could be doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 135 million. So, pretty close to doubling of what we're doing. So that's obviously something that we want to move forward on.